Hello and welcome to this Minecraft 2x2x2 sticky piston elevator tutorial. Now this is done using the new honey blocks and the snapshot, and this design is actually based off a similar one from Mumbo Jumbo, the difference being that it was a 2x1x2 elevator, so you only had basically only had two places to stand in, where this you have four kind of block areas to stand in. So most of the circuits you see here is actually just for launching it or for the elevator door I added in, and basically sending and receiving it from different levels. Is actually very simple. The actual flying machine, I'll show that in a second, but first I'm going to show just a quick demo. There is a delay on it just so you can get in. The doors close as soon as the elevator leaves, and once you arrive, the doors open. And if you need to, you can send it down without yourself in it. Doors close, elevator goes down. And once it reaches there, you'll be able to call it back. Yep. Arrives and doors open. The door opening feature is actually pretty simple. I just have a block attached to the flying machine on the back, and once it stops moving, it activates from a redstone torch that tells the doors to open. It's actually a pretty simple circuit that does it. Basically getting it to not interact with anything else with the hardware bit than actually designing it. As for the actual flying machine, like I said, it's a very simple design, but I'm going to get into why it's important for some of the circuit to work like this. You see the two pistons. So the actual design is pretty simple. Two observers, two sticky pistons, two slime blocks, and you can attach and build onto it however you like, as long as you don't exceed the block limit. Because right now, this sticky piston is pushing these four blocks, and this one is pulling or pushing these four blocks. And so you can see that I added on the floor, wall, and roof of the elevator onto the blocks within there. And so sending, receiving, you have one observer facing down, which sends it, and the other observer facing up, which sends it back down. So with the honey blocks, I realized that you could have two sticky piston, slime block, honey block machines right next to each other, and if you wanted to, you could add an infinite amount of adjacent ones, because these blocks, because these don't stick to each other anymore with a recent update, this piston is not pushing on these even when they're going at the same time, and this piston is not pushing on these blocks, which allows you to basically kind of cheat the block push limit to an extent and create wider designs with your pistons. The one major flaw in this, which isn't really a flaw, it's more like a just one kind of thing you have to watch out for, is that these have to move at the exact same time, which just means you have to send and receive them at the same time, which is why these two pistons, if I had like an observer going into one, or not an observer, a repeater going into one and on the other, it has to be the same tick. Because if you send one without the other, it yanks it and breaks the other one, which is not what you want. And this happened quite a few times building this, but once I got down the sending receiving circuits, or I guess just the sending circuits, receiving circuits, just activate them, it became much simpler. This back piston, as you can see, it's the same, pretty similar design. The reason these look different from the honey one, I don't have the observer straight under, is because honey blocks are transparent, and if you unlike slime blocks, they don't conduct a redstone signal. So you see this block, how If this was a transparent block like a honey block, it will not, but a slime block will. Now I'm going to change that back to red wool before I forget and wonder why something's broken. Yeah, so this is pretty much the same. You could use the same slime block design. It doesn't matter as long as it works. And this is essentially what I had before, and I just put on 3 slime blocks in the planks to create the elevator. So, one more look at the circuit and essentially how I created the elevator part is I just did this, and I made the circuit again on this side. So you imagine it would just be mirrored. And like I said before, you have the slime block right next to, or the honey blocks right next to the slime blocks, like this. And as long as everything moves at the same time, it creates this sort of, platform / room you can stand in. And by adding in one more flying machine to the back, you create the third wall. And you could create like a completely enclosed area, some other crazy thing, or some variation of this. Because you could do, if you shaved the bottom off, do something like this. But once you just need this very basic slime block machine circuit or honey block machine, flying machine, and you can build so much off of it. Just know that when you're working with a honey machine or a honey flying machine, you need to activate them at the same time, or it will grab the pistons that you don't want to be grabbed and it will break it. Which, unlike breaking other redstone things, breaking a flying machine usually means you have to rebuild whatever was broken from scratch, which isn't fun. Also, remember your immovable objects so you don't send it way off in the distance or up to the block limit. So that's it for the actual flying machine. If you want to see more detail for the door and sending the receiving circuits to call it back, I will show you now. So these 2 paths, this green circuit is the sending circuit. All it does is it's connected to the receiving circuit here, but all it does is just activate this. And what this does is it just pushes a bunch of pistons to activate these observers all at the same time. You can see that these have a slight delay to them because I had to put a repeater here to make sure the signal reached. If this wasn't there, it would send these at different times and break it, which probably not what you want to do with a flying machine. This little blue circuit and the blue circuit up there are identical. All they do is they activate the doors when the flying machine is here. So down below, there's a little redstone torch there, creating an inverted signal. So doors are off when this is powered, and this is powered by this little block attached to this flying machine. And so when the flying machine takes off, that block leaves, and so now there's no way this torch is powering that. Powers the torch down here, which closes the doors. And when it reaches up here, does the same thing, opens the doors. Now, the calling circuits or circuit to receive the elevator is a little... Actually, no, it's pretty simple. So a button over there activates it, sends the signal all the way over here. This little machine is what I use. There might be a better way to do this. Just sends all these slime blocks down here, pushes this down 1. This actually just goes into the activating circuit. It's actually the activating circuit for when you're down and the elevator's down there, and just activates the sender. And up here, to call it back down, this just feeds into redstone torches, goes all the way up, goes into the calling circuit or the sending it downward up here, and activates the senders up here. It's pretty simple. It looks worse than it is, but it's really not. This is just the main circuit you need for the flying machine. That's pretty much all I have to show. Thank you for watching.